Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the podcast where we're moving the conversation forward about the choices you make in your daily life. I'm your host, Monica Cox, and I'm here right alongside of you, learning, growing, observing, and trying to make better choices consciously and subconsciously. Together, we're going to become better versions of ourselves and have raw, honest, open conversations about the things that truly affect our lives. And maybe, just maybe, finally get to a place where everyone else's BS doesn't trigger us.
Well, and I think isolation, I mean, pretty much every spiritual teacher that I've ever listened to, every energetic worker says, go inside, find your answers inside. But I don't know what you're telling yourself. I don't know if you're listening to your ego or your higher self.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I have to trust. I have to trust that you've done the work. I have to trust that you are healed enough to understand the unhealed part of you. We all have. If we're incarnating, there's an unhealed part of you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not one with source. There is an unhealed part of you. That is just simply the truth of it. And I have to, as the outside whatever, have to trust that when I tell you to go do your own research, that you're going to find your way to the right one, that your emotions, that you're going to be and connected enough to your emotions to understand when you're actually doing something out of fear and out of ego instead of out of, altruism, for example, which could, everything in moderation. If you have extreme altruism, you're a bunch of lemmings running off the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Legit. Like, I mean, there's so many different, you guys, if you've never seen like a lemming massacre, it's not because some other animal is like trying to like off these lemmings. No, they're literally like running off a cliff for goddamn reason by themselves on their own. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Isn't that the human race in and of itself? Like, that's the species that you feel like we're much like what you're saying is like we're running in circles, and like we can look at it from so many different angles, right? You can look at it from like a cellular level, and we can look at it from like an epigenetic, like, oh, this is just trauma, this is just genes that have been activated, and this is the collective narrative that we've agreed in. Okay, that's like one scientific perspective. Like another perspective to me is like, I don't understand. This is more of like a quantum reality space, but it's like, why do we always try to find a solution in the problems that were never solved in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Like we literally I'm not saying like get away with history. No, that's not at all what I'm saying. But it's like if we're constantly looking backwards, the solution is not in the back, it's in the forwards. Like, and it's the same thing with an energetic perspective. Like when inventors and creators and people come up with things, it's not because they're looking backwards and they're saying, let me imitate what we've done. It's because they're innovating what we need. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. But if you keep running off patterns individually or as collectives, you can never look forward, right? I would say most people are running on their past because they know no different. And it's too scary to jump into a new, right? It does take that kind of dark night of the soul or the black sheep or, whatever you want to call it, to be that person, be the tribute to go, okay, I'll step out. Everyone's wearing black. I'll start wearing white. They'll think I'm absolutely a freak because it's going to get super dirty and I'm going to have to wash it and I'm going to have to carry it. It's going to be a lot more TLC, but I'm willing to do it to show that it's possible and make a change. So yeah, I mean, coming back to, who is there going to be a group that changes things? No, I don't think so. And I don't even think that, there's any kind of pure bloods out there that much anymore, right? Like even if you look a certain way, if you get your genes tested or your DNA tested, which I will never do, they will never hunt me down. I'm a rare blood type. I won't even give blood. I'm like, oh hell no, shit shit happens, they're coming from me. I'll be like hooked up the cyber person. But we're all mutts, right? Like we are all like, and that's probably why we're also kind of all over the place and don't know where we need to be, is because we're, you know, we have 14 generations running through our DNA. I mean, Jesus, no wonder we're all messed up. That trauma that's gone through.
I think this brings up another good like topic that maybe like is it not exactly the one we've been talking about, but is like a good like offshoot is are you comfortable with your like role, like, and we can like expand this to like soul mission, or we can like keep it, you know, very 3D and be like, what is your role in society, right? Because like as you guys were saying, like you have the innovators, but not everybody can be an innovator, because if everybody is simply like going and looking at the you know, what is way in the future and like trying to like throw spaghetti at the wall, you're never going to know when you're already trying something somebody already tried and it didn't work, right? So like there needs to be like a record keeper, somebody who does actually pay attention to the past and says, you know what, this is what has been done. So by the way, like, don't waste your time, you know, doing this. Like, let me tell you these things that have kind of gone on, not maybe in total, but, you know, give you enough of an idea so that you can use that platform to jump out into the abyss. We need to have those people that are, you know, willing to test the thought processes of the ones that are the innovators, you know, and say, you know what, I'll step up and try the new vaccine. I'll be the one to try the new whatever. You know, I'll be the one to test out this new cloth. You know, I'll be the sewer for this new thing.
Well,
you know?
we need all of it, but I think this is the gap. Like I don't know what it is. I like joke all the time with my husband. I'm like, the way that I talk about humans, I'm like, I must be an alien, because literally I'm like, yeah, humans, I don't know what you're doing, you know? But when I think about it, with humans just in general, like, yes, we have all of these roles. We have all of these roles now, but then we made it mean something. We made a role mean that if you are in this role, you're more worthy than the person that's in this role. When in actuality, that interconnection has to exist. And so without your foundational roles being filled, you would have never gotten up to this high and mighty worthiness space that you're in the first place.
Right. We need to give as much credit to the person who's the janitor as we do the person that's the principal.
Yeah.
Like it has to be equal. It has to be oh my God, thank you so much for cleaning everything, because without you, we would be living in filth, as well as, oh my gosh, thank you so much for being the one to like be the grand organizer of this whole like thing, and making sure that each, you know, space, each role has what they need. Because without that organization, we would be nowhere. We would just have the janitors going, I don't know who's ordering my supplies, or the teachers being like, I don't know who's like bringing in the kids every year, you know?
Okay, so
and that goes with everything.
What's the conspiracy theory behind the levels, the totem poles, the hierarchy? Why all of a sudden did we have to have this, I am better because I am here, you are less because you are there?
Oh, I think that's just ego. I think people just like having things and having recognition. I think they like the dopamine rush.
The desire for perceived power. Like that's just what to me, it's like the desire to be in charge or in control, to be, it comes down to ego, of course, because it's like filling that part of you that is very much like, there's no way it could be on the same playing field as other people. It has to be better than all of these people, because if it's better, then it will survive, right? Like it's got to be linked in that way, shape, or form. But the opposite side of this too is also like what we're also mentioning and talking about is like a world of everything being equal and everything is great and da-da-da. That's exactly why so many people hate the leftist group in America right now, is because they think everybody's going to like the socialist type of way, and that's not what they want. So like that's where it's like I always say it's like to me, my husband hates when I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm like, burn it down. Can we just like let it burn down for a minute? Like, I'm okay with burning it down. I'm okay with a little bit of shit hitting the fan and things being whatever, and us all looking and going like, why the fuck have we been calling this a chair for so long when it's clearly not a fucking chair? It doesn't work. It only has 3 goddamn legs. It was supposed to have 4. You know what I mean? Like, now I know that that's not really the most conducive way to shift things, but also it's like we're just spinning our wheels. We don't really make a ton of progress. Like when you look at like from a political perspective, it's like an entire generation focuses on like 1 or 2 things. You're telling me in like 30 or 40 years we're going to get like 2 big things done? Who the fuck is in charge?
But I think that the point that you make of like, let's do a grand reset, even for like a few minutes, right? I think that is exactly what some, ultra conservatives are also saying. You know what I mean? Like, and this is the duality of it. But I think the reason why people are like, oh, we must have a hierarchy is because they can't see that each thing is needed. Whereas nature does that very well. Nature is like, no, we need everything. We need the grass, we need the wind, we need the sun, we need the water, we need the trees, we need all of these different predators, and we need all of these different prey. And, some days the shark will eat the fish, and some days the fish will get away. But like it's all needed. It's all needed, because if we don't have it, then nothing works. Whereas we're all like, everybody needs to be a boss. Well, if everybody's a boss and you can't find the value in being a worker bee, and you all are trying to be the queen bee because somebody told you should be the queen bee, when really deep inside of yourself, I'm not a queen bee. What I am is a very hardworking worker bee. And I will work in whatever, passion that I have. I just don't want to own anything. It's like, I feel so bad for the women out there that are being told, what, you should want to have a career.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, but all I want is to be a stay-at-home mom. And we see that within like the women within society for, where it's so polarizing. There was a whole generation of women that were like, I just want to be a mom. I'll go to school until I marry somebody. And then once I married somebody, then my true job starts and I'm now a baby maker. And then we had right after that, it was a whole group of women that were like, shame on all of you women who decided that all you were going to do was give up on your dreams, and you just decided that you were going to go and get married and have babies. And now we're at this weird place where we have no idea, and we just can't even say it, of like, if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, God bless you, somebody's got to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just as awesome and amazing as the person that says, I want to go and be a business owner.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about even in your own personal life. Like my friends that watch me online, they're literally like, Kim, I don't know how the fuck you do what you do. There's no way I would be able to show up. There's no way I would be able to take on the amount that you have to take on. Like, I mean, I see that you got big money wins and things are great, but fuck it. Don't care. Don't want any of that. That seems like a load of pressure. And like, I look at them and I'm like, well, the life they're living, I look at like, oh, that looks like it's caged into me. And it's no different like me being an individual. I don't want children, right? And like when I come across some women, that is like, it's like I said that I slept with the devil last night and I'm now impregnated with his baby. Like, that's how they look at me. Like, you're a heathen. Oh my God, what is wrong with you? It's the same difference with the same concept of like, oh, you want to be a stay-at-home mom? People look at them that way. You want to be a CEO of a company? People look at you at some type of way too. And it's just eventually learning that. And I think truthfully, I know that there feels like there's a little bit of a negative energy around all of what we're talking about. I'm trying to like feel into it a little bit better, because the truth is things are evolving. And as much as we want it to evolve like that, and as much as we're like, look at how much we've changed. I mean, think about your own life, who you were and where you are now. We see things in such a different way. It's like, oh my gosh, we want everybody on board. But we have to remember that we are just a teeny tiny fraction of the whole of what's going on. There are hundreds of thousands of individuals whose consciousness is raising, who is desiring to sit around and have conversations like this. I mean, I feel like the coaching, the online industry, the self-help, the e-commerce, if you will, learning from people, self-knowledge, that in and of itself is an indicator to me that we are headed in a different direction. It's just, we probably are not going to see it occur in our lifetime. The changes that we desire, but we are making progress every single day that we show up, every single day that we choose these realities and choose this work and choose to show up and put it on the internet and to help people and to serve people. Like we are moving it forward, even if it feels like nothing's moving at all.
Well, someone's got to live through history, right? It's got to happen.
Exactly. And I think the energy that Kim is talking about is the fact that it's conversations like these that have been hidden away, not talked about, left in the dark. That's why it feels dark. Because right now what is happening is an unearthing. It's we need to stop being ashamed to talk about this. We need to stop being so concerned about these sorts of conversations, and us standing up and saying, in this group of 3 women right now, only one of them wanted and worked real hard to get pregnant. The other 2 couldn't give 2 shits.
Paid a lot of money.
Everything needs to stay exactly how God intended. And have that be hey, oh my God, Monica, thank you for being the one person that wanted to procreate, because God knows we need that.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because my journey actually woke me up to being okay with what I wanted, right? I think I moved through a lot of my life thinking that I had to be a certain way, thinking I had to do certain things. Obviously, when you do want children and you deal with fertility issues, you feel less of, right, of a woman, of what you were quote unquote here to do. And so you feel less in your power. Right.
Thank you, patriarchy.
Yeah. Yeah. So moving through, I definitely know that I had to go through what I had to go through to become who I am today and be here today. Because if it was easy for me, I would have absolutely been running the same shit show that I was raised in, grew up in, my parents grew up in, their parents grew up in, generation. So, I think there is, living through darkness. And I think, Abigail, you said this on another episode of like, that's where the light comes through. That's where it breaks through, right? The seed gets planted in the dark. The baby gets, grown in a dark womb. And, it is, I do feel a lot about love and light, that is the ultimate thing, but knowing that that's all there through the darkness as well. And I just feel like as a collective, we're just in a shit show, like right now, that we just let it go for so long. And eventually it's going to come to head. It's not going to be like, oh, I woke up and everything's going to be fine. I think of it as like a body thing too. You can't just let your body go and go and go and go. And then the moment you're like, oh, things aren't right, I better fix myself. Well, sometimes it's too late. Or sometimes you're going to have to go through a lot more hell if you just didn't see. And I feel as a collective, that's just what we've done. And yeah, like I said before, someone's got to live through it. We're going to live through history. And we already have. I mean, Jesus.
Right?
Like,
right. Exactly.
Us older millennials and the next generation. I mean, all of us have just been through a crazy amount of recorded history.
Yeah. I mean, life is a hard thing. Nobody gets out of it alive. But I think we really truly need to get to a place individually, collectively, where we're like, you know what, it's okay. It's okay no matter what it is you want. And you can either work for it, or you can say, you know what, I'm going to try a couple of things, and if it don't work out, then that's good too. I think we get it in our heads that, if something doesn't go our way, then we've somehow failed. And, I think about myself in partnership with this, like, so many people being like, Abigail, if you want to get in partnership, you absolutely can. I'm like, yeah, I know I can. Like, I could go out in the street and be like, you come, and I will become whatever it is that you need to, stay in this place for as long as I can possibly keep it. Or I can say, you know what, if the world is meant for me to be in really good partnership, that I don't have to work too hard at. I mean, obviously relationships are work. All relationships are work. I'm not saying I should just get to lay back and everybody takes care of me. But like, if I can find somebody that I'm like, I know that soul to soul, we're supposed to be partnership in this life, then it'll come if I make myself available to it. And I can, or if that never happens, if I get to 75 years old and I still don't have anybody, I can choose to look at that as a failure, or I can choose to look at it as, you know what, I was meant to do something different and partnership wasn't a part of it. And I have to choose.
It's deep acceptance. Like even the darkness that you were talking about, like to me, it's like the darkness gets transmuted by loving on it, right? By accepting it, by sending it love. It's the same thing here. Whatever your lifestyle is, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, it's deep acceptance that your path is your path, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it looks like. There are going to absolutely be deep ass valleys in it, and they're going to be peak ass mountains too. And accepting that neither is better than the other. It just is.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that we have grown up in a society that has labeled things so, like, with a freaking rubber stamp to your forehead. And if we can start removing those labels for ourselves, Kim, just like you said earlier, your family has felt your energy and they're doing their thing. I can definitely feel, the people around me look, even if they're just looking at me like, that's a little bit different. Like, that's okay. At least they're seeing different, right?
Yeah.
And not the same old patterns, not getting that validation. Oh, life's really hard. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I can't do that. Right. And just living your authentic life slowly. Sometimes it might feel cringy and unauthentic at first, right? Because it's not new to you, or it's so new to you that you don't even realize it. And then all of a sudden, like you say, you look back and you're like, holy shit, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love, like, I think that's the space of it is like, I literally love being an expander. I love expanding people's minds. To me, there's nothing better than expanding the potentiality, the possibility for their life and who they're here to be. Like, I love being that. And I also love being expanded. I love receiving that expandership in anybody that I come across. I'm expanded all the time by people. And so it's like, that's the partnership that I want with life. I want to expand it and I want to be expanded by it. And I think like that truly, I know it feels like we're not there. We're inching farther away from it. But I think if we were to zoom way out and we were to look back, like this is absolutely going to be marked as the Great Awakening. Mm-hmm. Like they will learn about this time and it will be the Great Awakening where we recognize that darkness and shit had to hit the fan for us to transmute it, to see it, to love it, and to create a new way.
Where do you want your bronze statue to be then, Kim? As tribute?
As tribute, well, at this point, Puerto Rico, because I love Puerto Rico. So.
Oh my God. I love you girls so much. Thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to just talk about these super hard issues and move the conversation forward. Once again, all your guys' information is down in the show notes if you would like to connect with Kim and Abigail. And until next time, have a great week. Thank you so much again for joining us here on Choices. You can go ahead and leave a 5-star review because we're all friends here. But if you really want to move the conversation forward, please connect with us on our social media accounts, which you can find the links below. Have a beautiful week, and we'll see you next time here on Choices.